Good evening, everyone. Well, data center and space mania continues as StarCloud raises $250 million with a $2.1 billion valuation. Wow. Space Sail is China's new entry to rival Starlink. We'll have a quick look. Trump just introduced his new space policy, which calls for a new spaceport, a national one, and plus 1,000 launches a year by 2030. Two astronaut missions to Haven 1 could reshape what the post-ISS world will look like. Musk claims Starship will try for a tower catch in the next few months. Blue Origin is looking to build a new facility in Texas for $674 million. Here's a big one. In India, ISRO, their space agency, is completely jumping the shark and is depending entirely on the private sector for its entire launch capacity. The Canadian Space Agency has awarded 4 more FAST grants. The Sierra Vista Spaceport application to the FAA has hit a big wall. I'll tell you why. China, here's a twofer for you. China is postponing its critical moon launch to 2027. Meantime, a private Chinese firm did a successful booster landing, but then it fell over. They were hoping to reuse it. All this and our guest, which I've been waiting for forever, Janet Ivey. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. Okay, this show is brought to you, of course, by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. You know what we do. We champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space-adjacent enterprises worldwide through advisory, access, and advocacy. Our legendary pitch events and world-class boot camps fortify startups to be better investor-ready. Now, in addition, this podcast, which has become a crown jewel of our activities, is still largely supported by our listeners and fans like you. So I want you to do it right, later tonight, but, watch the show. But tonight, go to cfcf.space/support and click that Plain as Day donate button. Now, I checked that donate button. I made sure it still works, and by God, it still does. So you guys got to go there. $10, $25, $50, even $100 is not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but sure makes a big difference for us. And it's U.S. tax deductible. And to sweeten the deal, we've got a special offer the rest of this month and maybe beyond. Donors will receive a free special report in their inboxes on the first 25 years of New Space, how we went from nothing to 700 billion in the space of a single generation. Inspiring material, even if I wrote it myself. You're going to want that. So don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your friends. Now, speaking of friends, my longest space friend, Michael Laine, who just finished polishing his diamond rod, no joke, is here with us. Michael, come on in. Here he is.
Hey, how's things?
Good.
Good. What's going on?
Well, we got our funding from the micro grants.
Yay!
Came in today, so I guess we are going to launch this on September 1st.
Outstanding.
So stay tuned for announcements in that regard.
Love that.
So I got that going. We're still raising funds for Heavy Alto, and we're just living the life.
Right. I had kind of an interesting call yesterday with a different funding source on our side, and
cool.
It was interesting. It was very inconclusive, and I don't like that it was inconclusive, but it's, that's not a yes and not a no. It was kind of maybe if then. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll take an if then. So
all right,
yeah,
that's something. It's a step in the right direction. We'll keep going. We all get ground down by these things, but you just hang in. Stuff happens. It always happens. Ciao, Bella. Hey, Veronica Ann.
Hey, Jason. Nick, Veronica, love
Welcome,
to see
Nick.
you guys. Thanks so
Welcome.
much.
Joe
Proceed
Castrito's here.
on.
Hey,
Right on. Right
evening,
on.
man. Good to
Yeah.
see you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah. All right.
should we dive
You
in?
want
Got a
to
great
jump?
guest tonight, so I just want to whip through this and
Yeah, exactly.
Yep,
Exactly.
yep.
Let's just jump through it. I gotta say, this first story is probably my favorite of the week with
Yeah.
StarCloud. Local darling of the area. Pretty amazing what they have accomplished in such a short amount of time.
And getting in league with NVIDIA, I'm sure didn't hurt
Sure, no.
that process. That's
You know,
doors.
everybody's super excited about that $250 million raise. And that, by the way, comes on top of the other money that they've pulled in. I think GeekWire is misrepresenting this a little because they're saying a total of 450 million. I actually think it's a little higher than that from some other private sources, but not it didn't hit 500 million, but it's a little higher than this. What I love is that they're getting a 100,000 square foot facility.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know this, but they've been able to pull off this much with just 20 people. 20 people.
I know. Right? 2.1 billion valuation, and they went. That didn't take long. It went from nothing to this, and how long?
A year and a half, 2.5 years.
I thought. Yeah.
I met Philip 2 Mays ago, so not quite 18 months. He had just come out of Y Combinator. He was the darling of that, and then that has made it easy for him. Yeah, they're valued at $2.3 billion on 20 people. But by building this 100,000 square foot factory, it means they're going to start building things, which means they're going to be hiring. So good for StarCloud.
Yep.
I'm excited.
Not to be. You ready to go?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. This is kind of amazing. China is really serious about competing with Starlink, and they have a company. They have a satellite sector. Domestic startup Space Sail has raised about US $1 billion to accelerate the build out of their LEO network designed to compete with Starlink. It's called the Shanghai Spacecom Satellite Technology, and they just completed their Series B round. 18 investors joined the deal, including a state-backed investor, Shanghai Alliance Investment and hard tech-focused venture fund CAS Star. It only represents about 13.94% equity. Company's valuation has reached about, let's see, 7 billion was divided by about $7 billion, roughly. And so they're they're serious about building large-scale LEO satellite networks, and they want to compete.
Yeah. Neat.
Yep. Okay, Trump's space transportation policy, the things you really needed, there's a whole bunch of things that they've put out there. But the surge is driven by the commercial and military demand for communications and a lot of other things. And so the basics of the policy, the most important parts of it, it's only a couple of things. One, he wants to build a new national spaceport somewhere. That's a big deal. And two, he wants to use it a lot. He's calling for 1,000 launches a year and returns by 2030.
Yeah, that's bonkers. But we've highlighted the tweet that launched 1,000 starships, right?
Right.
We've pulled up the Musk tweet that said, look, this is what we're going to do. And then fast forward, it's probably been 3 years since that post.
Yeah. Well, I first saw imagery of Starship. They didn't call it that then, all the way back at IAC in Adelaide in 2017.
BFR.
That time he just called it the BFR.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
I still think of it like that, but hey,
right.
Because it is.
When we were working on the Earth elevator, we called them BDRs, big dumb rockets.
Yep.
Yep.
Dallas has a question. He says, "Aren't all Chinese investors state-backed?" Not necessarily. They can be state-controlled in some way, but
right.
there is a lot of private money goes into a lot of those funds.
Yeah.
Fully space-backed, you're talking Chinese government money is also going in a big way, as I understand it.
I want to talk a little bit more about this new policy here. It's not in doc. Let me grab the screen for a second. And two other things came out relating to this. Suddenly I can't find the links. Yeah, this one. So we talked for a moment about this national security, science, and technology strategy. Pretty big document, 24 pages. It mentions space 30 times, materials 13 times, and artificial intelligence 15 times. So I think that's a big deal. And it goes side by side with this other document that we have not talked about, which is a Space Command document. This is the first of three. The whole document is fascinating, but I really want to point out page 33, because page 33 is basically the LiftPort business model, supported by Space Command. I was dumbfounded when I saw this. So I'm going
to show me the money.
Yep. Right.
Show me the money. This is about space and money. Lots of lofty ideas, lots of Space Command and stuff. Okay, where is it? Show me the money.
All right. Yep.
Give a bunch of it, Michael. Let's get going.
Let's do that. Keep going. All right.
Yep. Okay. I guess they're planning. I guess they've formally announced a couple of astronaut flights are going to Haven 1, as well as ISS, in another year or two or three, and they're saying that that's going to maybe the results of those trips could start showing us the future of what a post-ISS world is going to look like.
Hope so.
So that was something I thought was vaguely important, and folks should be looking to that instead of lamenting, ISS. Let's move on. We got to figure, okay, how are we going to have a continuous human presence in space forever? ISS is going away, and I can think of better fates for it, but that's a separate argument for another day.
Sure.
But I just wanted to share that out there, and we can go through that quickly. Now, here's an interesting one coming up. Back to SpaceX. Musk says in a few months, end of this year or early next, they will try for the first Starship tower grab.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's going to be exciting.
So will that be 14 or 15?
I think it'll be 14.
Okay.
15.
Well, hey.
I don't know. Yeah, I actually don't keep track of them. So that's great. I thought they actually did a tower catch a while ago, but this is on the new upgraded version. I think.
Yep, this is the one that we're actually going to use to take people someplace. So.
All right, let's move on to
Origin. There's this place, I guess, called Hutto, Texas, in Williamson County, that Blue Origin is eyeing this spot to build a $674 million facility that could bring 2,000 jobs. And this is the biggest thing that's ever happened to Williamson County, I guess. And so, so they voted unanimously to approve it.
Right.
Yeah, that kind of money. They don't see They probably see projects 1/100th that size normally in a good year, and now it's so there's the size of that town's going to triple.
Yeah, I'm looking up Hutto, Texas. Give me a sec.
Okay.
Hutto, Texas. No surprise. Oh, it's actually bigger than I thought. And wow, that's a weird place to put it. It's next to Austin.
Well, okay.
It's next to Austin. It's not on the water.
Well, they must not be launching from there. They must be just building stuff.
Yeah, I don't. The population is 2,500 people. There are buildings in New York that are bigger than that. 25,000 people. 25,000 people. Wow. Okay. I assumed it was going to be on the water somewhere and launching, but definitely not. All right. All right. So good luck for Hutto. All right. Keep going.
Okay, this is a big one. One of the big ones of the day. Because we've been for decades we've been talking about NASA buying the ride. Well, ISRO, the Indian Space Agency, is decided they are all in.
Yep.
We have stopped building rockets ourselves, and we're going to depend entirely on the private sector for launch vehicle manufacturing. For India, that's jumping the shark.
It really, well, yeah.
Can you imagine NASA saying that 25 years ago?
Yeah, no, I think it's a leapfrog. I think it's great. Yeah, I would not have seen that coming. Yeah.
So they're going to focus their resources on, as they say, R&D and big ticket space missions.
Right. India's most powerful operational market, also headed towards privatization. Unlike the SSLV process, public sector companies will not be allowed to participate in the upcoming transfer process, leaving private industry to take charge. Man, that is a big deal.
That is gigantic. It's just gigantic. So good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big namaste to you for that. That's absolutely incredible. And we are here for it. They said they've already transferred 120 technologies from ISRO to the private sector. So they're handing off a whole bunch of IP that they've worked on and publicly invested in as well.
That's not that big a deal. That we've been doing that for 40 years. So that, I mean, yeah, it's necessary, but it's not the same as just turning over the keys and saying you guys are going to handle it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well.
All right. Canada. Fast grants 6.8
million. I thought, it's more than just the USA, so I had to throw some stuff in if they're, they're going about money. Okay, here we go. There is some. They are awarding fast grants, and they intend to play a role. Structures manufacturing, astronaut training, orbital navigation. From York University. That's kind of interesting. They want to do their own position and navigation system for satellites in LEO.
Yep.
And it's capped at $450,000. So there you go. Canadian CubeSat.
Yeah, that's cool. NASA's Institute for Advanced Concepts also released a bunch of stuff. They had about I think 18 companies with $175,000 initial funding. That just came out this week too. All right, moving on.
Okay, Sierra Vista Company is based in Arizona, and they have been trying to establish a spaceport at the Sierra Vista Municipal Airport. Now, it's stalled out. Apparently, this goes back to April. The FAA put their application on hold, and they're now waiting for a company called Black Star Orbital, which is already leasing land at the airport to use as a satellite rancher site, to be ready to apply for its own license before Sierra Vista can move forward with the FAA. That's the hangup. They're waiting for somebody else. They're waiting for their anchor customer,
right,
basically, to get their license. So, but that stuff happens. They should, every once in a while, we got to show the good news and the bad news with regard to the regulatory environment. Now, regulatory environment has largely been very friendly to new space for a long, long time, and continues to do so. But every once in a while, you hit a snag like this, and it should be, reported. Okay. last two, and they're back-to-back things. The Chang'e 7 mission, they say China says does not meet the conditions for launch yet. It's a very, very vital mission for them because this is the one where they're going to the lunar South Pole or wherever, and they're looking for water.
Yep.
And so that's absolutely critical for success.
Yep.
Failure is not an option on that one for them.
Nope.
And so
they had. Oh, go ahead.
So they have to do it, but they to make absolutely sure it's perfect in every way. They're taking about 6 months off.
Yeah.
And so they're now resetting the launch date for sometime in early 2027.
This is interesting because this is different from what I saw in early reporting late last night. This says the Chinese message offered no explanation for the cause of the delay from the Wenchang Space Launch Site located on an island in the South China Sea. What they said yesterday was a typhoon, and they are saying this a little bit. Most likely Sunday's delay was due to Typhoon Nara with 45-mile-an-hour winds. But
yeah.
You know, I've lived in that part of the world for a little while, and those typhoons are no joke, but 45-mile-an-hour winds are not the kind of thing that knocks your spaceport over. So I think they are blaming it on a typhoon, which gives them political cover for a technical delay. That is me saying that. That is not backed up by anything. That is just my guess. But yeah, those storms can be bad, but they're not delay 6 months and maybe let the Americans catch up with us kind of delay.
Right.
So,
right. Well, it's very important to them because if they succeed in that thing, it's like Sean just said, it's game on.
It is, yeah.
For everybody, it's game on. And so I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Because I want game on.
Yeah, me too.
I want game on. So maybe a success like that will get everybody off their butt, and smooth things up. Now, here's the last thing of the night. This is kind of good news, bad news. Is one of the privately funded companies that actually did a landing of what they went with a reusable booster. It landed perfectly. Then there was a fire at the bottom of one of the landing legs, and the thing just fell over. And all he could say was, "Well, that's sad. We were planning on reusing that." So that's your sort of joke for the night.
I will remind people that the early landings for SpaceX also fell over, and they were really mad about.
That's why they did it on barges.
Yep.
That's why they did it on barges.
They got really angry at the subcontractors for the legs, and after that, they built all the legs in-house.
Yep.
They
do. That's their preference to do stuff in-house. They don't farm out. Why if they don't have to?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, we are done. I had 21 items and I managed to squeeze it down to 11. But then I have to do this every time. So,
right.
But at this point, this is going to be a fun night. We're bringing in our guest tonight, Janet Ivey, the 30-year host of the award-winning series Janet's Planet, which has been inspiration for kids of all ages for a long time. Janet Ivey's here this evening. This show is a long time coming, and so let's bring her in. Come on.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Hi, Monica Ann. Good to see you, kind of, in the chat.
Yeah. The way she said that early on is like, do you know her? I was going to ask you. So,
Oh yeah.
Good. She's one of our biggest fans. So
she's an incredible asset to the space community. So
she is, and I'm trying desperately to get her back in. She's been going through some stuff. So it's like, okay, it's time. Next year, ISDC, come on.
There you go.
Yep.
We'll get her there. Okay, let's just start right in. I mean, you have a very successful program. You've just been inspired for many, many years. Give us a hint at your origin story. How did you get to this place? What drove you to do this? You just normally were a born media person. You decided this is where I want to plant my flag. What brought you to here, from there to here?
Well, it isn't a straight line. It is more like around the mulberry bush about 15 times, Sisyphus pushing the rock up the hill only for it to like come back down and, completely undo me and push it off and try again. But really, the kind of my love of the solar system began when I was 10 years old in fifth grade at Holmes Elementary in Covington, Tennessee, which is the birthplace of Isaac Hayes and home of the Charms Blow Pop and some cotton fields. So there's not a lot.
What more could anyone ask?
That's right. And like it's about 45 minutes north of Memphis. But I had this beautiful African American teacher named Miss Ernestine Yarborough Jones. She was in her second year of teaching. And every Friday she would come by and she would whisper something into your ear that was meant for you and you alone. She would threaten with her big booming voice not to like, this wasn't for public consumption, this was for you.
Right?
And she would say things like, Janet, science isn't just for the boys, it's for the girls too. And on a Friday night in 1978, so imagine that they had just announced in January of that year the first 7, females of the astronaut corps for the first time. And then in the fall of that year, we're out on the playground and she's brought her telescope. And I'm not even sure what was going on at the school on this Friday night, but there she was in her bell bottoms along with redheaded Miss Carolyn Davis. And these women were pointing out constellations and the moon. And I thought I want to be as smart as these ladies. And so in the spring of 79, she would have assigned me the planet Saturn to give a little report on. So yeah, my love. So even my logo is a wink at that Saturn that I got assigned to back in fifth grade. But that was my kind of like push into loving space and science. But I always also loved band and music and drama. So even in high school, I had great teachers that by the time I got to in my junior year and I'm taking some chemistry and algebra 2 and stuff like that, my teacher says, you're not an A+ student in this, but you've got a very curious way of getting to the answer. And so maybe that might come in handy someday for you. So just keep studying. I don't know what you're going to do. I know you love your music and theater, blah, blah, blah. But thank God for Mr. Hughes, who, again, sometimes I I was a good B+, sometimes C student because I think sometimes it's like in my earlier math, I didn't get maybe what I needed to understand some of that stuff. But
Right.
sometimes it's like he would be like, well, that's a curious way of looking at that, Janet. So I think even back then we might have talked about a space elevator. So I cannot wait to ride, Michael. So
Ah,
just sign me up. Like I've been talking about getting a like it's like he's on up, like seeing the stars, like resting in my little cabin, having
yeah.
dinner. Yeah, I can't wait. So just sign me up for that. But so that was my real inciting moment. And even when I went to college, I still took astronomy classes and some physics classes because, again, it fascinated me. I didn't at that time think I was going to do anything with it. And then by the time that I worked for Opryland, which was a theme park here in Nashville, Tennessee, I went to college at Belmont University. Um, I got a job working with and for kids, and I fell in love. It was 1992 in walk these kiddos. Hi, I'm 25, and yeah, I fell in love with working with and for kids. And by the time the park was closing and they were selling off the property and all that kind of thing, I looked around and the only people were Bill Nye the Science Guy in Beekman's World, and in
Right.
Beekman's World there was a sidekick that was like, hi, it was the girl who was like, kind of the airhead. And how does that work? And I was like, hey, wait a minute. We're smart out here. So I did. I planted my flag on Janet's planet and said, I'll be a female who touts the merits of science. And I love what I do. I mean, it's like as I hear you guys talking about commerce and business plans and exit strategies and startups and all these kinds of things, people ask me my exit strategy, and it's going to be like dying on Mars, I guess. You know what I mean? It's just like I I want to always be about getting a young person excited about the possibilities, what they can create and innovate. And to me, like creating that kind of science literate society and that next generation is what really keeps me going, no matter what age I am.
Outstanding. I love that. I love that story.
It's blowing my hat off now. Yeah.
Right, right.
So how did Janet Planet actually happen though? What were the logistics? Who did you get interested in this thing? How did you get on the air?
It's an even like again, nobody really should be asking me for my business plan because it is so like completely glued together with duct tape and a couple of nickels. But I had been well, what happened is while I'm working with the kids in the late 90s at Opryland, a producer from local Nashville Public Television calls and goes, "We've had auditions for this ITV series. We can't find any kids. We hear that you work with some really great ones." So I sent 5 of the best that were like full of diversity, etc. Well, they hired all 5 and they're like, "These are amazing." So then I become friends with Sana Joe, and she ends up hiring me to play various roles in some ITV series. And then she asked me one day, "Well, what is it that you want to do?" And I was like, "Well, I got this idea for Janet's Planet." And so at the time, the station had just gotten a couple of new administrators, and the vice president was from Boston. Well, she wasn't having any of my Southern hospitality. I can't think she thought I was some kind of weird alien or unicorn. But I was really determined to have a meeting with her about Janet's Planet. So I found out, I don't even know how, somebody let me know that she really loved Paul Newman's dark chocolate from Whole Foods. So the receptionist let me sneak into her office. I covered her desk with like Paul Newman chocolate bars and basically wrote a note, "All I need is 30 minutes." And she called me. She goes, "Anybody who gives me chocolate gets a meeting." And uh, again, she gave me a challenge, Michael. You're talking about going out and how did your meeting go? Well, it was like it wasn't a no, it wasn't a yes. It was a little bit like that. But she said if I came back with money, she would put them on the air. So my first stab at entrepreneurship, I go out and I meet with a few people's and we raise enough, and that's when we kind of kicked off our interstitial series. And then we ended again, dumb luck. Again, this is one of these stories that you're going, how did this girl make it? But I remember one time I was down in Austin at a New Worlds conference, and I was standing there, and I'm not quite sure what I said, but a very well-known artist that had worked for NASA for years goes, "I know what you've got." And I was like, "Huh?" He's like, "You've got imposter syndrome." And I was like, "Is it?" Like I felt like I was breaking out in chickenpox or whatever.
Right.
And what Pat Rawlings told me in that moment, it was so beautiful. And it's like I've never met up with him at another conference ever. I'd love to like hug his neck and say, "You changed my life that day."
Right.
He was basically said, "If you are here, it means you have something that nobody else is doing, and that there is a seat for you at the table because the rest of us need you to communicate." So he even told a story how when he first became an artist for NASA, that the engineers would bring him something to design and he'd add a little something, just being artistic. Then the engineers would come back and go, "Oh my God, Pat, that's exactly, we didn't even think about adding that." And so I think at that moment, that's when I realized, oh, okay, I got something here that is intrinsically me. But we ended up winning our first regional Emmy, and then the rest is history. It's like we kept kind of like, then she said, "Oh, I'm going to give you some more money. Keep producing." And so still very grateful. And maybe the lesson is it's just ask the question. Like no matter how audacious or ridiculous or whatever it sounds. I mean, I'll tell you the truth, present company excluded. Along the way, though, I did have somebody back in 2008 when I was at an ISDC tell me, "Janet, this is a ridiculous idea. Space is hard, and like kids need to know how hard it is." And I was like, "You're God, man.
It,
slow.
it is hard. It is hard, but but kids are smart and they are powerful, and we got to pass the baton. So get them ready for what's hard. Yeah.
No, I mean,
Yeah, it's almost like I just wrote about this last week. It's hard in this fact. I mean, Elon Musk blew up 3 Falcon 1s before the fourth one flew. He was on his last money. If that fourth one didn't fly successfully, the whole enterprise would have been done. And
yeah.
this and space today will be very, very different, probably not as good. And so yeah, it's hard, but also determination and work can make things happen, like you've done.
Well, and I always think the first infrastructure of the space economy isn't necessarily a launch pad or a rocket. It's an
Yep.
educated, curious, scientifically literate human being. And if we are not out there, like this has been my soapbox, and Veronica can tell you about it. It's like, and she many times has agreed with me. It's space education isn't just something cute. Now, again, present company excluded. I have had a couple of people along the way go, "It's really cute what you do." No, it isn't. It is necessary. Then I've had other people say, "Are you always like this?" And I'm like, pretty much, because it's like energy is never destroyed, it's only transferred. And if you're working with kids, you got to meet them with like such overwhelming, like speed of light energy that is like, wait a minute, what's happening? Is this science or is this an adventure? That's what one of the things that I love about physicist Brian Greene. He wrote a story years ago, Put a Little Science in Your Life. And apparently he had gotten a letter from, I believe it was an enlisted person. And this person wrote and said, "Hey, if you had taught science when I was a kid, I would have been a scientist." And just, you always made it, you always make it so interesting. And so in it, he writes, we must tell and communicate science in such a way that it is the grandest adventure story ever. And for me, that was the attraction for using space as the great invitation for how we get kids involved in STEM. Because I mean, it's like, I think it was in 2023, there were 373,000 like private sector space economy or employed. Like, I mean, that's kind of like amazing that 373,000 people are involved in just private sector space.
Yeah. Huge.
And so when we've had this jump from 2014, there were 29 million jobs in STEM. Now, like jump to 2024, there's 37 million. So when we think about this jump to this $1 trillion, $2 trillion endeavor that we're looking at in the next several decades, it's like those fourth, fifth, sixth graders are going to be those people that we need driving the infrastructure. And one of the other things that I always say is like when kids go, "I don't want you just to all be astronauts." I mean, if you get to space, you're an astronaut. It's like, that's okay. But we need welders. We need plumbers. We need people thinking about who owns it. And one of the things that we started doing when I was at Explore Mars is that we started, as we did our Mars Innovation Challenge, we kind of expanded it just from like being kind of a space settlement design competition to who owns it. Like, how do we have a passport for it? If you find helium-3, if you find the water ice, all of these things are great in theory, but then it's like, we start thinking about where's the economy? I mean, you know what I mean? It's like science tells us it's there, but it's like, where's that economy? Oh, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. Since we're here.
There's a shameless plug, everybody. This book was kind of curated by the CEO of Explore Mars, Chris Carberry, and fellow board of directors member Rick Zucker. They gratefully allowed me to write a chapter called A Martian Education, Martians in Mind, Designing Educational Theory for the Red Planet. And basically, I just keep asking a lot of hypothetical questions, because think about this. If it's like, if you are a kid on Mars, and again, we could talk about the ethics of however that could look someday, you're going to have to know things like pretty quickly. All of a sudden is your carbon dioxide, what's that CO2 meter doing, et cetera. And you're going to have to learn how to fix it really quickly. Or what if you fail to do one of your chores or your jobs and it grandly impacts like the whole entire ecosystem? And so what if we flipped kind of like how we teach on Earth and flipped it to that kind of Martian thing, and we started teaching kids to think critically in a time of uncertainty? Can you problem solve? Because the scarcity of resources will sometimes make you super agile in your thought processing. And so these are the things that I want kids to do. And oftentimes I'll get asked like, well, Janet, are you dumbing it down? And I'm like, no, I am not dumbing it down. However, it's like a lot of times too, if it's like a bunch of fourth graders, I will purposefully throw out some like $12 words, because I go, if this is your first experience with it, the next time that you hear ISRU or in situ resource utilization, you're going to have had an experience with it. But it's like we were talking about China and the space race. And that's one of the things that I really challenged kids in my camps this summer. It's like with the gorgeous crew of Artemis 2. So they're inspiring. Like I still wish those guys were in space. It was just like, they were so incredible. But I said, China's got a lander. And isn't it curious that it looks a lot like Apollo Legacy lander?
It looked like a lot.
Right. And the testing in the microgravity facility, wow, it looks a lot like legacy Apollo stuff. And when I tell them that it's like, hey, we've got prototypes, but we don't have a lander, we've not tested them. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, we got to get after it. And so that to me also is the challenge out there for the students. But I think we've got to demand more. We've got to expect more. And, I hear all the time, grown-ups were complaining about our generation when we were kids in school, but we tend to every generation. But I will tell you, Gen Alpha, anybody born between 2010 and 2025, they've got it hard. They had COVID in the middle of everything. They've had lots of disruption in their educational processes. But it's like this generation of all others, they got the screen really early. They didn't wait till 8, 9, or 10. They got it at 1 or 2. And I just want to say to anybody out there, I get it. It's like 30 minutes, give them the screen, but do not let them passively watch for hours on end, because research is showing passive screen time is creating a generation that will be 33% less cognitively agile than any generation previous. And so we've got to now it changes if I'm watching a Mark Rober, say Tom and Michael, if I'm watching an episode of something with you and I go, wow, how'd they do that? I wonder if we could do that experiment. That's crazy. Should we look that up? Is that true? Then it changes because we're having a conversation about it. Mm-hmm. And so again, I'm not anti-tech, I'm not anti-gaming, right. But it must be purposeful. And this generation is also 33% inclined not to be as active as their parents. They've had 95% of them want instant gratification. And that, to me, this is the kicker for me. It has been shown that hands-on science, getting them to build, create, iterate, test, fail, redesign, actually helps build persistence and helps them delay that gratification and go, oh, there is a payoff if I'm persistent. And so for me, that's why I'm such a big advocate for getting kids hands-on science. I mean, screen time has its place, but there are moments that they need to be thinking and creating with everything that's in the recycling bin.
Sure. Okay, now for the 5 of our viewers, well, across the land or on Apple TV or on Spotify, who've actually not seen one of your shows. Mm-hmm. 5, it's probably 5 of them. Let's help those guys out. Can you run me through how it's structured, what a typical show looks like, and what do you do to keep it fresh?
Let's see. Generally, it's like we open. I've got some characters. There's like an alien named Isaac. There's a Dr. Comet who's a little bit of like an impulsive character that'll show up sometime. We also have this little quiet little Curie who she likes to sing her science. And then we've got Galileo, our supercomputer that is basically, encyclopedia of all things space. But to keep it fresh, I'm doing a lot of like I love listening to your guys' podcast. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I'm like grateful for those little links you throw up there, Sean, in the background. So thank you for that. But it's about trying to stay as relevant as possible and go, oh my gosh, kids, did you know? And keeping them even kind of like we did a whole thing where Wally Funk was on. I had the privilege of meeting her in during COVID of all things. She came on and spoke to kids online with me. And it was funny. After she had my phone number, she would call Janet, just what's going on? And she was just a dynamo. And so we did a whole episode where she talked about her experience. And then we like had to go and update it after, she got to fly. And it's like I love kind of like having live guests as well. We've interviewed a lot of space scientists and astronauts. We've got partly like John Grunsfeld or Hoot Gibson, Charlie Bolden. I mean, I'm so grateful to the space community that's actually taken me seriously and said, hey, sure, I'll help with that, or I'll come on and speak. But it's usually we do segments that are as short as a minute and a half. We do segments that are 7 minutes long, 15 minutes long, half an hour long. During COVID, we were on Roku, and you could get a lot of our episodes like that. Now they're mostly on the website. We're working on an animated series right now down with a company in Brazil, but yeah, if anybody's got some cash laying around and want to invest in a kid's activity, give me a call. But again, that's another way to try to keep it where kids are going. And I was kidding, or well, not really, but I was joking with somebody going, yeah, as soon as I am a cute little animated character, I'm not gonna like worry about turning 60 in November and forget about Botox. So yeah, I'll be young forever as an animated character.
Speaking of that, how could Michael and I be guest animated characters on your show?
Right. Heck yeah. That would be super fun.
That's what we'll do. Like we'll like pop you in like news from home.
Right.
I love it. Let's do it.
Love it. All right. This is a show about, that intersection of space and money. What's your reach? How are you, how do you grow the channel, so to speak?
I don't know that I've been excellent in that regard. I think in some ways it's like it just had to happen organically. I got hacked a few years back, and so had to really rebuild. And it was one of those times I was on vacation, and please don't do this. Do not repeat after me. But it's like I got it, and I clicked on something before I had validated or even really thought through, should I, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of lost a lot of, in that moment, lost a lot. But the interesting thing when I started, because I was on public television all over the country, there's still stations that are airing the evergreens that we did, and still stations like we're about to do a new round here with National Public Television, and we'll get it out to all the stations again. So, it's interesting how a lot of times a teacher from somewhere in the world would call, hey, we saw this episode. Do you mind us using it in our curriculum? And I said, sure. And then a few years back, I happened to get grounded in India. We didn't make it to where we were supposed to go and speak because of a very interesting storm that was happening in Chennai. And I ended up, so we posted something on Facebook, hey, a funny thing happened on our way to Chennai. And this kid somehow had seen the episode that I had done with Space Florida on microgravity and came to the hotel wanting to meet me. And through some partnerships with some people there at the Nehru Planetarium, we were able to get him a telescope. So I don't even know how it would have made it to this kid at all, but hopefully just sharing it. What we try to do, we're about to reveal an update on our website, but all the resources are free. I feel like nothing's new under the sun. I've only kind of like basically improvised and made them my own. So if any teacher or any parent out there wants to use any resources that I have, they're all free to them.
I know a couple teachers. Honestly, 4 of the 4 teachers that I know have been really struggling this last year. And I think it's kind of important to kind of share that, there is hope, there are resources, there are people that care. And the teachers, the teachers need the help and the students need the help. So did you see anything during your COVID days? Did you see more activity, less activity? You were an online resource, so I was guessing that you had more reach during those days.
You know what? But again, it was one of those things that Nashville was a little bit late to the lockdown because we just had a tornado rip through Middle Tennessee, like a 200-mile swath.
Yeah.
And so here, all of a sudden, lockdown's announced and people don't even have houses. And so I'm, luckily that did not happen at our place, but we had friends that were, without a home during that period. So everything was really hard. And I think it was, well, I'll tell you exactly when it was. It was like about that Monday before March 17th. I'm sitting here drinking my coffee, probably crying in my coffee, going, I got to do something. I cannot, the whole world is jacked. I got to do something. So I put very naively, put it like a Zoom link out on Facebook and said, hey kids, who wants to learn about the solar system? So the first day we had 26 kids. The second day I say, well, come on back. I had 76 kids. And again, I naively think I'll do this for a couple of weeks until this thing passes. And then 9 weeks later, we've served over 1,200 kids in 11 countries, and amazing people I never would have met otherwise are going, hey, Janet, I'm sitting at home. I'll come talk to your kids. And then what happened because of that is that I started getting invitations to speak to all of these students in different countries, etc. And so all of a sudden I had an audience that I never would have been able to reach. And then gratefully I applied for a NASA grant, and I was basically everything I was already doing, but for free, and then got supported by a NASA grant between September of 2020 and June of 21. And I was able to hire a couple additional educators, and we served 9,500 kids across 43 countries. And it was again, what we realized, though we provided some kind of constancy in a very tumultuous time of uncertainty. And here's a victory story. A kid who would have started with me, he was 7 years old, 6.5, 7, in a camp with me in 2019, pretty much full of ADHD and pretty much rolling on the floor. Hey, Lucas, you ready to hop back in anytime? Just spoke and presented at COSPAR at age 13.
Wow.
So that's pretty exciting. But yeah, for me, it's about for any teachers out there, trust me when I say you've got any good teacher out there has got requirements of the district that can sometimes be so overwhelming. They spend more time doing paperwork than they do teaching, and they're using their own dollars to even bring it. So what I always love to do, if I'm going to go into a school, I'm bringing the supplies. I don't want the school to have to provide them. I'm like, hey, it's like plug and play. Miss Janet's going to come. You guys can sit back and just make sure we've got some classroom management. Classroom management is at peak capacity. And that is even this summer, parents aren't always forthcoming about what might be happening with their kiddo. So
Right.
I think it's a little bit that does happen a little bit more in schools, but sometimes when I'm only there a week and I'm trying to suss out 60 kids in a couple of hours. So I mean, I basically like tip my hat and bow before the teachers who are staying in and going, I'm not giving up on this generation of kids.
Right.
But part of it's screen. I'd also encourage anybody out there, if you haven't seen it, to watch the Mississippi Miracle. Mississippi is now fourth in our nation in literacy because they got rid of the screen, because students had to.
Wow.
And again, I'm not like super
Yeah,
like
yeah, good.
in time and like, do it like we did in the old days.
Right, right.
But there is a brain body connection when we write, and when we have to hear something and scribe it for ourselves, we're training some neural pathways that don't happen just when we're swiping and typing it up. So I would encourage, if you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube, I believe, but it's called The Mississippi Miracle. And I believe they're on to something and how they're limiting what they do on the screen there with literacy.
I'm just, we only have 5 minutes. I'm going to post a couple things that Veronica sent up about NASA's educational outreach material. And then she's also asking about online distance learning schools. Are you connected with them?
I'm not connected with those per se. I have taught for varsity tutors for a time as my schedule would allow. But I guess it's like the thing that I will sort of like, I mean, I guess say here as we sort of draw things to a close is like, you know what? Part of your show is asking the capital that you're trying to raise is asking, can we scale it? Right.
Yep.
I mean, that's like any investor's going, how do you scale it?
Yep.
But when it comes to like this space economy, science is asking, well, is it going to work? I mean, again, what I noticed in the chat there, they have tried it with the tower kind of like thing, but this will be the first time they do it with the big starship, right?
Yep.
But education kind of creates that human being capable of answering both those questions. How are we going to scale it? How are we going to do it? How do we make that? Because whether it's like, yeah, I'm sure there's water ice, there's helium-3. We figure out how to excavate it, but that's down where we really need to be teaching kids how to think. Who owns it? How are we going to market this? How will we export it? How will we benefit for having clean energy if helium-3 is somehow processed? It's like all of those things, whether it's space law, like I said, or a plumber, those are some of the things that I think we need to be showcasing as space careers as sure as any others. And I don't know. I'm tremendously excited about going back to the moon. I mean, I think that's a place where we can make a lot of mistakes and we're closer to home.
Yep.
I certainly am infatuated and love the idea of going to Mars. But again, the capability, it's like the question shouldn't just be, should we go to Mars? It should, in my opinion, should be, should we go to Mars when we have the capability? And we don't yet have that capability of landing softly and protecting the most important part of the resource, which is going to be humans. So they're big questions, big, super big questions that we have. And especially for this generation that's going to be really coming up behind all of us, carrying those dreams and processes forward. So here's my last little thing I'll say to everybody is it doesn't matter whether you like mentor one, 100, or 1,000. Just choose somebody to share your knowledge with so that they've got a great knowledge bank that they can come to someday as they're pursuing their career in engineering or nuclear physics or whatever it is. But it's like somewhere there is a kiddo that would love knowing you and love having you as their kind of space cheerleader.
That's okay. Got a minute to go. Pull out your crystal ball. What does the next 5 years and the next 25 years look like for this industry and for the world?
I hope in 5 years, like, we are on the south pole of the moon and we're starting to
Mhm.
see that lunar outpost happening, and where everybody's playing nicely with one another. That's my hope. Can we do this and go together, as humanity and not still having it be, like, only the rich people get to fight about it? Do you know what I mean? Or, like, that it's like everybody else, because I don't want that to happen to space, that we get so disillusioned with it because only certain people can participate. But I'm hoping that in the next 5 years, we are back on the moon. We've landed and we've put those footprints back there, and we're starting to see enormous possibilities. And then in 20, 25 years from now, oh my God, how old will I be? Okay, Janet will be almost 85. Uh, I'm
I'll be
hoping,
older than that. Trust
yeah,
me.
so, I'm hoping that, my little Lucas or Lucia or Sachita or Alex and all the great kiddos that, I've been able to be part of their lives, that they better invite me to the launch. I better not be sitting in my living room watching it.
Right.
I better be there wherever they're launching it from, but either watching the launch and, hopefully getting those first footprints on the red planet. But I think it's still in, for safety reasons and capability reasons, we're still another 20, 25 years out. And maybe longer than that, but I'd like to see the long poles being laid, that from the moon onto Mars.
Great. And on that, Janet Ivy, Janet's Planet. This is everything I expected and wanted and more. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you'll do it again sometime. And
Anytime, my
it's
friends.
a delight having you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Okay, Thursday, hopefully, we have space lawyer Michelle Hanlon returns to the show. You know, we love us some space lawyers. And so, in our never ending series of space law and how it's changing in the high frontier, and she's an incredible resource on this. It's great to have her back. Always an amazing and edifying experience. 8 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, as always. And for Michael Laine and Sean Key, I remain Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies.